ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् Okay, so we are in chapter 10, and last time we went, I explained everything about verse 29, Anantas Chasmi Naganam, but we didn't read Swamiji's commentary. It was about Sheshnag, Varun, Ayarma, and Yama. And Swamiji has some other insights and all that. He wrote pretty long commentary, so we'll read that today. Any volunteers to read? Meena ji, would you like to read? And it's long, so if you get tired, Anil ji can take over halfway.
Okay, sure. Thank you. I'm Ananta among Nagas. I'm Varuna among water deities. I'm Arima among Pitrus or ancestors. I'm Yama among controllers. Of the Nagas, I am Ananta. Nagas means the many-hooded serpent, and of them, the 1,000-hooded Sesha. Sesha, Naga, is the one that has been described as forming the bed for Lord Vishnu to recline in his yoga sleep. Lakshmi, his consort, remains massaging his feet, and a lotus rising from his sacred navel, Nabi, is the creator, Brahmaji, of the Trinity, to sit and fulfill his creation. The Vaishnavites, especially in South India, worship this deity, and alas, very few know the subjective significance of this objective representation. Naturally, when the foreign paid perverted missionaries and their host of new converts criticized the picture, the orthodox Vaishnavites, poor folks, closed their ears and retreat in all hurry, physically saving themselves, but mentally molested and intellectually ulcerated, as it were.
Okay, so Swamiji is talking about some few other things also, because I think this particular scene, all of us as Hindus have seen it, Vishnuji reclining on the Sheshnag, and sometimes you wonder, अगर बेड ही लेना था तो थोड़ा कंफर्टेबल बेड लिया होता जी, सर्फ पे क्यों सोए हुए अजीब लगता होगा. And the people who don't understand the symbolism and they don't know anything about Vedanta, obviously they will criticize it and they will find faults and all that. So that, I think all that was happening a lot in those days, and all these missionaries, because see, we are told as Vedantins that you respect other religions also, and we don't have anything like convert. Hey, तुमको आना है तो Hinduism में आओ, नहीं आना है तो बैठो, जो भी करना है. We don't force. But other people, they find faults in our thing, and then if you don't know what it is, so the way he described that these people felt hurt mentally and their intellect, but they didn't know the symbolism, so you can't even go and tell anybody what it is. So you just kind of quietly cower down, and so I think from that perspective, it's so great that all of us are learning Bhagavad Gita, and we have some confidence now, and even there's so much confusion. Like Hinduism has many gods. And here the Vedanta is 100 times declaring that one God, just many forms. खाली एक लाइन भी बोला तो सीधे हो जाएंगे वो लोग. It's one God only. Yours and mine is one. Also those kind of things. He just saying that we need to understand what the whole symbolism is. That's the most important thing. Then we will understand, and then we can tell others also. That is his whole point. So now he's going to explain. Swamiji will go very deep in symbolism, so you'll see.
But this is so different, coming out of the navel and on the serpent, or
Exactly.
so different. So it's hard to understand unless you really know it. It's hard.
Yes.
That representation of Brahmaji is the creation power, and which is within us, all of us. But it's hard.
It's hard. And I don't know too much about Christianity, but I know a little bit. Even Jesus, he said many things in a very subtle way. So if you just read the sentence, you won't get it, or you will take it totally wrong. But somebody like Yogananda or somebody, when they explain what Jesus is saying, it will make so much more sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think in every religion, this mysticism in the language is there. But because it depends on when it was told, what was the context, but there are some deep meanings behind it. But I think our Rishi Munis, they worked a lot on symbolism. And once you know the symbolism, it makes so much sense what they are doing.
Yeah. Even we don't, Indians don't really understand.
No, you are absolutely right. Very few do. And how much, but now with the social media thing, people are becoming more aware of it, which I'm very happy about. Even the young generation is getting interested because of that. Yeah.
Sad indeed is their plight, and the responsibility for this wretched ignorance must be shared by the Brahmin class and the gurus of this country, who had been neglecting the faithful so sadly and so criminally. Unless we learn to give up our soul-killing orthodox prejudice and gather the courage to rediscover our scriptures, we, as a cultural unit, fast ebbing away at present, shall ultimately wear out and die.
Now read that. He said that
Okay.
because he said something underneath.
Yeah. Now that I visualize this tragedy in spite of the present chronic orthodoxy disease, if need be, we may readily perform even some surgery to save the Hindu society.
So he's saying, I'm ready. So basically he's saying that it was, the Brahmins technically are supposed to study the Vedas, right?
Yes.
Study the Vedas, know it themselves, understand it properly, and teach others, which they didn't do, And in India, the Brahmins were just doing rituals, and they were just, doing what you call just saying the Sanskrit mantras, and sometimes they were even pronouncing it wrong. They never told the meaning, nothing. So they didn't do their responsibility, and we can't blame them, whatever happened in the history and all. But people like Chinmayananji are the one, or, Yogananda, Vivekananda, all these people, they are the one who are bringing it to the educated class also. Hey, there is some value in it, and there's so much in it. So I think the responsibility lies to them. And if they don't fight back with these people who are, maligning all these things, then it will die away. But then he said, don't worry, we can do surgery. So he's just kind of waking us up. But somebody was saying that out of all the religions and all that, Hinduism is the oldest and it still survived after so much happening, different, because the foundation is very strong. And when we study Bhagavad Gita, or it's not even a religion, it's a way of life. Because religion, what are you undermining it? But sometimes we don't even understand the meaning of religion as such. Religion is like the way Chinmayananji used to explain. It's a set of values that you follow. Because, hey, it's like a discipline.
Yes.
So if somebody already has a higher state of consciousness, they don't need to follow any religion or any step, because they already are there. But people who are not there yet, they need some discipline. They can follow a set of discipline. They will progress better. It's like a GPS. Okay, stay on the right path. And there are different ways you can approach. So there is no such thing as your religion is better than mine. And I have told this incident many times that So somebody approached some Christian guy and said, I want to become a Hindu. And he said, why? Go become a better Christian. I thought such a brilliant answer he gave. He said, will you change your mother? No, then go. You don't need to change anything. Because in Christianity also, if you understand correctly, you will do the right thing. But, these people just mess up everything and all that. So that's what the whole thing is about. And he's just making us aware of it. I think things have gotten slightly better. But in those days, even it was still worst.
In
Umaji,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just, so you think the Brahmins purposely didn't let on?
No, I don't think that's what I'm
or
saying.
do you think it was just, they thought it was their duty to do the ritual, but not teach the actual meaning behind it?
Well,
What
if
do
you
think?
see, when we study Bhagavad Gita, when the four Varna Vyavastha jisko bolte hai, right? So there are some people who are more interested in studying and research and things like that. The Brahmin class is supposed to be like that. So, and then if you have certain qualities in you, Bhagwan tells you should develop it further, right? So there is a duties of Brahmins that's going to come in. I think it's chapter 18 where he elaborates कि हमको ये करना चाहिए. It's something like, hey, I have a good physique and all that, but if I don't do and practice some exercise and all, it's not going to get better, right? So Brahmins की वो लोग अपनी ड्यूटी भूल गए और वो बेचारे ब्राह्मण वैश्य बन गए. वैश्य मतलब बिजनेस करने लगे. I'm not talking about everybody. Like ये वाला पूजा करो तो इतने पैसे दो and इतने लोगों का वो भोजन करवाओ ये वो. But the way I'm looking at it, वो भी बेचारे victim of circumstances ही थे. अगर गरीबी आ गई, the क्या बोलते हैं, the society is not taking care of them, what are they going to do? So we can't really blame anybody. And then when it comes to these kind of things, even Bhagwan said, and it was in chapter 4 that he said that this knowledge of Vedanta and all that was given at when the human beings came and manifested in the universe. That's when it was given, right? But the knowledge gets contaminated as the time passes. And then all these rishi, munis or avatars have to come to straighten it. It's like Ganga starts at the, Ganga Sagar, sorry, not Ganga Sagar, mein tum jaake milti hai. The origin of Ganga in the Himalayas, it's very pure. Whoever has gone over there, Gangotri, the water is like crystal clear. But then by the time it comes, it gets contaminated by so many things. So that's what has happened. But people like all these saints and sages, they straighten the whole thing. So what you are saying, there's some truth to it, but you can't entirely blame them. They were victim of their own circumstances too. Yeah, but as long as we understand, and nowadays to study Vedanta, you don't need to go to any particular Brahman. There's so much available to you. It's coming to your homes now through YouTube and all that. So we should consider ourselves very lucky. In those days, it was not that. Maybe when he started teaching it, it was not that easy to study Vedanta. पहले तो easy नहीं था. दूसरा लोग आना नहीं चाहते थे. And things like that, because they thought that it is all, there's nothing to it and it's all just क्या बोलते हैं, अंधविश्वास है, ये है वो है. इतने wrong ideas आ गई थी लोगों के दिमाग में, which slowly is getting better now, I think. Yeah, what were you saying, Meena ji?
Yeah, I was just saying that wasn't it true that they only taught the Brahmins and their children and all that? It wasn't supposed to be taught to.
See, that's what I'm saying, that the Varna Vyavastha was supposed to be by how your mind is, not by birth, right? So whoever...
That's how they were taught, or that's how they understood.
Well, we had a Gurukul system at one time, right? That got totally broken apart.
Yeah.
So the whole, अगर whole system ही खराब हो जाएगा, तो जो वर्ण व्यवस्था है वो भी गड़बड़ हो गई. Yeah, right? So there were so many factors in it. But the truth is, whatever the factors were, it started getting lost.
Yes.
Yes. So, and even history, if you go back to history, when Buddha came, there was a lot of ritualism and all. It had already gotten contaminated. And he said, these people are never going to learn. So he started a different path बोलना चाहिए या simplify कर दिया सब कुछ. So जब वो simplify किया ना, so then they started saying, oh, don't even go to the Vedas. it's not really that Buddha did not believe in Vedas or anything like that. He was trying to simplify it. Okay, but other people just took it, oh, he's against the Vedas, don't do, people kind of misunderstand everything. And then Shankaracharya ji had to come and say, no, there's a huge value in the Vedas. That's why what we are studying is, Chinmayanand ji follows, Shankaracharya ji's Advait Vedanta. And then we are studying it now. There's so much in it to learn. So, if sometimes, people start criticizing something without even studying it. Hey, the person who has studied it has a authority to criticize. How can you say something is so bad when you don't even know what it is? So that's where the whole thing comes. Hey, pehle jaake padho to sahi. I still remember, I read, many of you may have read, it was autobiography of Gandhi ji. And he said that he was interested in the religion. So he started going to these Christian meetings, because he was craving from inside to connect to God, and that's what was available when he was in foreign countries, Africa, whatever. And he said that after some time he listening to them, he said, well, I come from India, and I think that we also have something. Maybe I should open the book and study it and see. And the more he started studying, more he realized that, hey, we have got so much. Why do I have to go somewhere else? Just जो कहावत है ना, घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर. It's like a not the best kahavat, but you got the gist of it. So you have something already on your plate, and then you are going here and there, and then when he studied Bhagavad Gita, he said, anytime I have a question, my mind get disturbed, I open the Bhagavad Gita, it's like a mother. It embraces me, gives me the answer.
Yes.
So that's what happened, that, hey, go and study it yourself. That's what we are doing. Okay? We are trying to do it. And in Chinmaya Mission, our teacher always said, if you have doubt about something, don't go here, don't go there, go to the very source. Go to the verse. Then see what it's saying. Other people can just make up anything. Go to some people that you respect their commentary. And then you will understand, rather than, ABC said this, so it is bad, So many factors are there in it, yeah.
Glorious description of the Sheshanaga is given as a 1,000-mouthed serpent of inconceivable length, twined itself spirally, forming a comfortable, though slimy, spring cushion for the eternal to lie, conditioned with activity and sleep, Rajas and Tamas. The supreme, conditioned by agitations, Vikshepa, and veiling Avarna, become in his unactivity the God principle, expressing as the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer. This is possible only when the self is resting upon a bed of egocentric misconceptions, which express themselves as the mental serpent.
Now, this is very, very deep, but this is the symbolism. Okay? So that 1,000 hooded or infinite is like our mental serpent. Mind में कितने thoughts हैं?
Yes.
कोई count नहीं कर सकता. एक दिन में भी लाखों होंगे, and then if you take the whole life, so that is like, and then you have this, what you call pure consciousness. In that, when Bhagwan desires at that level to create, तो उसमें थोड़ी हलचल वगैरह होती है, but we saw that the whole prakriti comes out because of tamas, rajas, sattva. Okay, and this representation of him lying very peacefully, it's like, tamas. And rajas is because Vishnu Bhagwan also has to take care of everything. So the rajas and tamas. So that's the symbolism over here, And then all that Nabhi and all that because from this, the whole world arises out of these three gunas, So that is the symbolism. It's a little bit deep, but, at least we got some idea what this is about, whole thing is about.
But that's the creation part. You see,
yes, it is the creation part.
There are so many thoughts. Something strikes you. You think more and more about it. Maybe that's the creation part of it.
Absolutely.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
The creation part in there,
Yes. Yes. And then when, the whole story is there, Puranic story, that Brahma ji unke nabi se nikle, and then Brahma ji was like, who am I? Where am I? And then he started looking here and there, and his 5 heads appeared, because he's looking in all direction, and then he's confused, and then he got this realization, I need to meditate. So then he sits and meditates, and he realizes, okay, now I know how. It's like, hey, I want to do some project out there. I want to create something. How do I do it? I'll have to sit and think about it. All different aspects. So I'll mentally first have everything clarity in my mind. Then it will manifest. So all that symbolism is in that picture, unki nabi se
All
wo-
that we can imagine in ourselves.
Yeah.
because that's
Yes.
Everything
Everything that is out there is within us.
within us. Yes. Yeah.
Uma ji, ye last line explain करेंगी please?
Yeah, sure.
This is possible only.
When the self is resting on. Okay. So now when we think about that, even from Taittiriya Upanishad, they say pure awareness or pure consciousness is there. And then now the world has to manifest from it. So when the world has to manifest, they call it the God principle. Because for the world to go around, you need 3 Shaktis, right? You need creation, sustenance, and destruction, annihilation. The whole chakkar you need, okay? So when will you do that? When यहाँ पर है ना थोड़ा सा confusion होएगा, मगर it's still okay. At the pure consciousness, there is no ego. Okay? But when I say I want to do something, you can't call it a bad ego or anything, but if I want to create something, it has to come from my ego. My own personality it has to come from. So it's like a God's personality that has manifested as a creator, sustainer, destroyer. And this is possible when the self is resting upon the bed of egocentric misconception, which is a Sheshnag, which represent our mind. And it comes as our mind. So the mind is manifested. Why the mind is manifested? Because I have ego has arisen in me. In that oneness, think about this way, Anilji. In the total oneness, I would not want to create anything. I have got everything. Why do I need to create? But somehow, I feel like, hey, I want to create something. So I have to shut myself from that oneness for a while. And I have to come in my ego, in my mental pool, and then I will create. That's the symbolism. So that pure consciousness, whatever desire came in it to create. And then the mind got manifested as a Sheshnag, you can say. Mind is like represented by Sheshnag because it has 1,000 different thoughts, million different thoughts. And now I am as though lying on the bed of this serpent, and now I'm thinking and creating. Does that make sense? Little bit, right?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question,
Yes.
or I'm trying to understand. Does that mean that every time you're trying to create, that ego has to be present?
Yeah, we cannot function in the world without ego. But the problem is this. If I think that I am my ego, that's where the problem comes. If I can feel the oneness in my heart, but you have to work in the world as a Nalini or not.
Yes.
If somebody asks you, hey, who are you? You're not going to go and tell the world, I am Brahman and I'm that pure consciousness. You have to work as Nalini. See, right?
Yeah.
So ego is not a bad thing, but if I start thinking that that's the only thing I have is me, then the problem comes. But
It's more self-centeredness.
yes, self-centeredness, exactly. If I work as Nalini, but I never forget the oneness, then I will do a great job in the world. I'll be compassionate. I will do my best. I will try to help everybody, and I will use my creativity. And when you help other people, you also get helped, right?
Yes.
So yeah, but ego, that's why they call it the Mahatattva. That first when the pure consciousness, it's decided that, okay, want to do some action, that ego came first as a universal ego. then it came into us, you know. So that's how you have to. It's just like tamas and rajas. Tamas and rajas, a little bit of it we all need, because without tamas we cannot sleep, right? But when it gets imbalanced, hey, somebody starts sleeping too much, somebody starts being too lazy, then the tamas is a problem. But for the world, for creation, we need all three gunas. You know, and even rajas, to do any activity, कोई सारा टाइम 24 आवर मेडिटेट ही करता रहे तो घर काम कौन करेगा? आप लोग के घर का काम कौन करेगा? मेरे घर का कौन करेगा? दुनिया का कौन करेगा? Right? So we do need rajas, but we have to keep it in balance, you know. And if sattva is more, then our life will be better. That's all. So if we understand the whole mechanism of creation, then we can work, you know, properly.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. And an average man does not need to have philosophers' acute intelligence to realize that his mind is the only conceivable single thing in the universe that has got 1,000 mouths to demand at one and the same time, 1,000 variety of things in 1,000 different languages. The pure awareness resting on the mind conditioned by the urge to create and a loving attachment to maintain what is created is the blue divine infinite clothed in yellow, resting in the hushed silence of its creative enthusiasm.
So this is he explained it. So
Poetry.
even the colors what they chose, firstly he said, okay, the Sheshnag represents our mind, and the Sheshnag ko bola hai Anant Nag bola hai na. He has like infinite heads. No? And then उसको दिखाने के लिए 1,000 कर दिया, just as symbolism. Whereas actually 1,000 नहीं है, true is Anant Shesh. And then so it's saying that दुनिया में कौन सी ऐसी चीज है which is like has so many different mouths? It's our mind. You know, it's constantly going from birth. Even a baby, 2.5 month old grandchild, उसका भी बड़ा active है mind, you know. उसको पता चल जाता है कि when, you know, if you are feeding him the bottle and you start talking to somebody else, he starts crying. Give me attention. You know, it's like उसके भी दिमाग में सब कुछ चल रहा है. So that's what it is. And that what did it say? And yes, the colors, that when you say भगवान का blue कैसे बनाया है color? कभी सोचा हम लोग ने? Why do they depict Bhagwan as blue? Doesn't make any sense. Nobody is born as a blue, because it's a color of infinity. When you look at the ocean, it looks infinite blue. When you look at the sky, it's infinite, it's blue. That's why it's a representation of the color. And then the cloth in yellow, it's like attached to this mind, what you call your creative urge. You want to create something. That's why I was called clothed in yellow. So we got this body, mind, intellect, our equipments, you know, that, hey, I want to do something. So to do something, Bhagwan gave us the equipment. Without that, we can't do. You know, the people who have those ND experiences, they will say that, oh, I was in the hospital bed and suddenly, you know, my consciousness was up at the ceiling and I'm watching, but I can't say anything. You know, people who are in that realm cannot communicate to us. So if we want to do something in the world, we need these equipments, you know. So that's a symbolism that, okay, the infinite, clothed in yellow, resting on this creative enthusiasm, that's the symbolism. This is as deep as it can get. You know? Sometimes, you know, it's like maybe those people didn't want to tell because they don't want people to get confused either. You know, you need a little bit of background in Vedanta and all to understand this. Otherwise, it can get pretty difficult.
Deep. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. It's very deep.
Yeah, very deep. But they had a reason that they did all that. At least उतना तो अपने को समझ में आ गया, right? कि ऐसे ही नहीं बना दिया कि वो भगवान, you know, वो टेम्पर बीडिक पे क्यों नहीं सो रहे हैं? Why is he sleeping? और शेषनाग, you know, it's symbolic.
We are not now very much concerned with the significance of Vishnu represented as reclining on the Seshnaga. Here, Krishna means only to convey that among the many hooded serpents, he is the mightiest and the most divine, because he is the very substratum upon which Vishnu the sustainer and Brahmaji, the creator of the multiple world, exist and function.
So I think Swamiji also got carried away by that symbolism, saying, okay, in this particular verse, itna symbolism mein jaane ki zarurat hai, but I think we enjoyed the symbolism, right? It's a good for us to know what it was. But here is a reclining that Sheshnag is the mightiest and the most divine, because talking about Vibhuti, just consider it as a substratum on which Vishnuji reclines, because इसीलिए उसका नाम शेष भी रखा है. When the world disappears, what remains is that Adhar. That's what it represents in the Vibhuti. That's what we have to remember. Yeah. There's a question.
I was just going to say that in my Gita, which is quite old, all this is not there. Okay, there's just one small paragraph about Sheshnagji. Okay, so
Do you have the same the individual Gita, or you are reading from
this is quite old. It's this one.
Oh yeah, I have that too. So they still sell that one. That one is a little more concise.
Yeah,
In this individual one, he has gone into little more detail.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Of the water deities, I'm Varuna. Varuna is a Vedic conception of the spirit governing the waters, the third of the 5 great elements. Defined the elemental forces in phenomenal world was the method of adoration and worship in the early Vedic period. It was only later that we started the Puranic tradition of humanizing gods and get into the muddy pool of religious differences, sectarian prejudice, and creedal warfare between colonies of ignorant folks gathering round a Jerusalem master or a Vrindavan boy or a Mecca messenger. Varuna is conceived as half fish and half man, almost something like Arnold's merman. He is the ruler of the oceans and the lord of all waters.
So I have gone in detail about the Varuna, and his job and all that. So what they are trying to say that in the olden system, of this Vedic traditions and all, they worship the elemental forces rather than, and to me it's a lot more scientific way. But I think that because everybody doesn't connect to this universal thing and all that, to make it simpler and to create bhakti and things like that, the Puranic stories came, and from Puranas all these deities came, and from the deities are supposed to represent that final Brahman. That's the whole idea, but people forgot about that, and then it's like 3 children fighting with each other. My candy is better than yours. Hey, the mother comes and says everything is sugar, okay? Just the color is different and all, what difference it makes? Stop fighting, That's what it looks like. That, okay, शिवा वाले वो लोग विष्णु जी से लड़ रहे हैं, विष्णु जी, उन्होंने शिव पुराण पढ़ा नहीं होगा, because शिव पुराण में the whole theme is that Daksha used to not like Shiva, and hey, that's manifestation of the 3 powers from the same Brahman, and even if one power is not there, it cannot function. If you don't have any liaison, you cannot create, So he had a little confusion, and then all this trouble happened. But that's what he's saying, that all these religious differences, that's the danger of Murti Puja. And that's why a lot of religions forbid it, because they think that humans are going to get confused, And then, but our Rishi Munis gave us a choice. Hey, if you need some symbol, you go, it's like taking a photograph of somebody and worshipping it to that extent that you forget the real person. Keep doing mala and arti to the photograph, and the real person comes and you say, no, you go away. I want to just continue with the photograph, So that's what has happened over here. They're trying to bring us, if you go to the original, it's the elemental forces, and Varuna is one of them, representing the water.
Going even beyond that to say Brahman, even the elemental forces.
Coming from Brahman, exactly. So you forgot the source and you forgot who it is, and then you start fighting.
Yeah. Shall I? Okay, I'm going to read one more paragraph.
And then after that, Anilji can take over, yes.
Of the Pitrus, I'm Arima. In Hinduism, death is one of the experiences in life when the subtle body chooses to leave permanently its present residence within a given physical structure. The mind-intellect equipment, maintaining a separate egocentric concept in itself, continues its existence, and it is roughly called by the common folk as the departed soul or the ancestors.
So I had explained all this, that okay, Aryama is in charge of, after you drop your body, it's like, am I a lost soul? Don't worry, Aryama is there to take care of you. He's in charge. भगवान ने सारी व्यवस्था कर रखी है, तुमको ऐसे नहीं छोड़ दिया जाओ वहाँ पे, you are lost, you don't know what you're doing. No. He will take care of you. And these are like in between states. Hey, before maybe, you have to go. Remember I told you he's not only in charge of the path to the ancestor world. Ancestor world is a temporary world. So don't think it's not like Christianity that at the day of judgment, either you will be sitting in hell or heaven for eternity. It's not, nothing is like that in Hinduism. We will merge with God, but in between, you need a transportation and you need a resting place. चलो अभी दुनिया में इतने थप्पड़ खा के आए हैं हम लोग, ऊपर नीचे गिर के और पता नहीं क्या क्या करके, चलो इनको थोड़ा आराम करने दो. So that resting place ka God is Aryama. So we have to be, at least now we know that we will not be like a lost soul. Aryama will take care of us.
The stages, we are going through the stages.
Yes.
That not direct straight.
Yes.
That's what it is. All right.
Okay, Anil ji, aaiye.
These live together in a world of their own called the world of Manas, Pitralok. We have already discussed the Vedic concept of the 6 children of the 12 Adityas, each presiding over a month of the year. Of these, Ayarma is one who is the ruler of the world of the ancestors.
So, they have done their own division of work and all that, and we have gone through it. The 12 Aditya mein se ek Aryama hai. And, the world of mains, ये जैसे पितृ लोक जो हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, एंसेस्टर, ये खाली हमारा हिंदुइज्म का ही नहीं है, दूसरे कल्चर में भी बहुत है ये एंसेस्टर्स वगैरह का. वो जो क्या बोलते हैं, ये इजिप्ट वाले लोग, तो वो आफ्टर लाइफ के लिए तो कितना कुछ हंगामा करते थे. यूज्ड टू कीप ऑल द स्टफ एंड गोल्ड एंड दिस एंड दैट, कि भाई उसकी जर्नी अच्छे से बीते. हमारा
चाइनीज तो घर बनाते हैं अपने एंसेस्टर्स के लिए.
अच्छा, वही ना. और मैंने सुना है कि मेक्सिको में भी कुछ उनका होता है, डे ऑफ द डेड और समथिंग. या सो ये मेन्स वर्ड वहां से आया है. दिस इज सोल्स ऑफ द डेड पीपल आर कॉल्ड वर्ल्ड ऑफ द मेन्स. सो इट इज देयर इन एवरी कल्चर बिकॉज इट्स अ पार्ट ऑफ द रियलिटी. हे, सम पीपल हु डोंट बिलीव इन रीइंकार्नेशन और समथिंग, उनको ये पूछो कि अच्छा तो मरने के बाद तुम एकदम खत्म हो जाओगे, कुछ नहीं बचेगा. फिर वो लोग सोचेंगे नहीं, आई डोंट वांट टू डू दैट, आई डोंट वांट टू बी टोटली गॉन, आई वांट टू बी देयर समवेयर. Nobody wants to just disappear, right? So that's what it is, that there is something afterwards. Yes.
Of the controllers, I am Yama. Yama is the mythical picture of the Lord of Death, the chief messenger of the Annihilator. In India, we worship the terrible, the sad, and the tragic, also because to us, God is the substratum for both the good and the bad, for the pleasant and the unpleasant. We are not satisfied by any theory of compromise by which we reject in God any association with what we do not like.
So he's just making a point, like in India mein, generally, if you have not studied Vedanta or anything, and then don't talk about people dying, don't talk about death, अशुभ बोल रहे हो, ये है वो है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है वेदांत में. You saw that when we were studying Taittiriya Upanishad, they said, God is represented excretion in your anus. वहां तक उन्होंने पहुंचा दिया हम लोग को. So either they're just saying that we in general view death as something negative, but Bhagwan is through everything. And they are just saying that in this Yama, the god of death, lord of death, this is my vibhuti he's talking about. So that's all his point he's making.
Whether we like it or not, the principle of death is the governing factor that controls and regulates life, and at every moment prepares a progressive field for creative developments everywhere. The childhood must die before youth can come to express itself. I must leave my high school to enter college. Step by step, I must die in order that I may be born into the next step. Progress in itself is a partial picture of life. It is only a squint-eyed vision of life's total dynamism. Every development is to be preceded by a prior destruction. Annihilation, thus contributing to the positive progress, is called death's own creative art.
Such a beautiful thing he's saying, because we when we think of death, as I was saying, something Ashubh and all, he's bringing the principle of death in everything in the world. Without death, it's not possible for this thing to go. And he's telling that one thing has to die for something else to be continuous. And we saw in nature, in our life, everything, even scientifically, don't they say your whole body changes every 7 years, all the old cells die, new ones come, and we know. Agar wo nahi hota, to we would be in trouble. That's why the body can self-heal. Think about it. And when there is a problem in that, that's called cancer. Because I'm married to a cancer expert, so I can speak a little bit here and there, not like him, but just some principle that when this balance is not maintained properly in the body, that all these old thing has to die, doesn't, then it becomes sickness. So if you see from the Vedantic perspective, it's very important. And in Balvihar, in when we were small children, and how to explain to them about death, because how to do it, hey, negatively you don't see. So they made up a story that there was this family of alligators which were like, they got a boon that nobody will die, right? They thought it was such a great thing, But after few generations, they were just fighting with each other. The great-great-grandson is saying, no, I need some space, get out of here, like... So, and Swamiji is going to bring that point. Suppose if nobody died, it will be a havoc. Even the population goes up a little bit, start doing gadbad in the economic balance. And we know India mein kitna problem hota hai overpopulation ki wajah se. So it is, and then whoever did Kathopanishad, when God of death, Yamraj, is explaining to Nachiketa the concept of death, and so he said, Brahman is this. He talked about Brahman, and then he talked about that, it is like a thali of rice, and the death is little chutney on it. Without chutney, swad nahi aayega. I mean, imagine. So if you take death in the right concept, we won't be scared of it. It's a necessary thing. And also the death is not look at just the death of the body, but a world of change, they call it. A necessary thing for the world to go around and keep the balance. That's how we have to look at death. So this is another very subtle concept, very helpful for all of us to kind of churn upon.
And my book says that Yama is, of course, the god of death. It also means, Yama also means control.
Yeah.
And specifically, if you have control over your life senses, you also have control over your, when you want to die in life. So that's also...
yeah, you are right. I covered that last week, that in the yogic tradition, yam, niyam, and also from there, it is control. Because he said, that among all the controllers, I am Yama. So that has and then there were 5 different things, Satyam, Ahimsa, and all that. I went through it last time. So you are absolutely right, Sneha.
And this also, Aryama and Aditya, they're saying their birth, like Aditya is the, of course, son, and Aryama is the female part. So these are actually our ancestral parents. They say that. They call them as ancestral parents.
Interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are different ways to explain.
Us also. The sun is giving us energy, and in the end, Aryama is also guiding us. So
I see. Yeah, good. So whichever, all these things together make sense, We need both. We need all kinds of things, yes.
No new thing can be created unless correspondingly we are also destroying that which was existing before. We arrive at this assertive but logical conclusion when we sufficiently digest the observed physical laws of the world that no two things can ever remain at one and the same period of time, occupying one and the same space. When a painter paints a flower, he not only pours his colors on the canvas to paint his subject, but his creative art is a constant destruction of the surface coating that was earlier given on the canvas. As I type on these lines, not only do I develop the art of placing the letters rightly to form the word and arranging the words to build the sentences and the sentences to express my ideas, but I am also destroying at every stage the common witness of the paper on which these letters are typed.
The common whiteness of the paper. That's the word. Whiteness. So he's just saying that for me to even write, I am destroying that whiteness. He's just telling you that कोई भी चीज create करने के लिए you are destroying something. And that is a law of nature. And then I think I had given that example. Somebody said, if you eat an apple, so you are getting nourishment and, one apple a day keeps doctor away. ये वो हम लोग बोलते हैं. Lekin what are we doing to the apple? We are killing it. In a crude language, right? We are destroying the apple. But that's what it is. But it's not a negative thing. That's how nature is. But if we accept it properly, then it's fine. And then many places, Swamiji has said that, when a flower dies, a fruit comes. Fruit dies, seed is there. Seed se naya wo aayega, tree aayega. So it's a cycle. So we don't need to be afraid of that. We don't need to be... These things will help us. एकदम से तो नहीं चला जाएगा fear. Everybody is... But कम हो जाएगा. That's how I will say. We won't be like so upset about it.
When you're applying it to everyday life, every good thought destroys a bad thought.
That's also very good. I think you have brought a very good point. So true, yes.
Thus, when life is viewed in its totality, there is as much importance for the principle of death as for the very principle of creation.
So now, sorry. Go ahead. मेरे में दो था, but go ahead.
But for death functioning intelligently at almost the same speed as the rate of creation, there would have been an inordinate flood of things in life, and life itself would have been choked by its own magnitude and number. If death were not there, the great-great-great-grandfather of our great-great-great-grandfather might still be living even now in our own two-room flat.
Yeah.
Even when there is a slight rise in population, the entire economic balance and the political peace in the world would get shattered. What will not happen if death were not as sincerely serving us as the Creator? Indeed, of all the controllers, death alone is the chief, and the analogy given here is irreplaceable and apt.
Man, we never thought so deeply about death. And just 2 minutes I was just thinking, we call it generation gap, like between our children, our grandchildren, we have all these. Imagine the gap between great-great-great-great-grandfather. हम बात में नहीं कर पाएंगे. Anyway, imagination can go wild, but you got the gist. Everybody got the gist that why death is so important. So next time, if we have to face it in the family, or one day we'll be facing our own, then we probably can do it with a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of understanding, and that will help us, the whole thing. Yeah. So I guess...
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to read the connecting line.
Yes.
In a spell of pleasant enthusiasm, the Lord continues.
Yeah. So 10 minutes, we can do start with the next one. And any question on these vibhutis? They were very interesting vibhutis. वैसे तो ऐसे simple दिखती है. We can just read it, okay, this is Vibhuti. But when we go into it, with Swamiji's explanation, it really opens our mind so much, right? No comment, no question on this. Okay. So the next one, verse 30. Pralhadachasmi daityanam kalaha kalayatamaham mruganam cha mugendroham venateyascha pakshinam. Prahlad. I think all of us have heard the story of Prahlad. Is there anybody who doesn't know Prahlad's story? There is so much in detail, so I won't go into too much detail when it comes to, but a little bit we'll go. Prahlad. Okay. Cha is an Asmi. I am Prahlad. Daityanam, among Daitya. So he was actually a son of Daitya, Hiranyakashipu. Kalaha, time. Kalayatam, among reckoners. Reckoners is the one that counts, the entity that can count and analyze or compute all these AI. Usme bhi time. I'm time. Mruganam, among beasts, all the four-legged animals. I am Mrugendra, the lord of the beasts, which in Mrugendra is lion. बोलते हैं ना जंगल का राजा जिसको बोलते हैं. Okay. So Bhagwan's Vibhuti, lion is Bhagwan's Vibhuti. And Venateya is Garud. Garud bhi sabhi ne suna hai. Bhagwan Vishnu ka vahan, Garud, and it's a bird. Here, American eagle, everybody knows that, right? Here, it's the same type of bird. So Garud, this particular one that is a vahan, has even more special vibhuti, he's a little more powerful and all that. So we'll see. Cha is an pakshinam, among birds. So among birds, I am Garuda. Among four-legged animals, I am lion. Among things that keep account, like accountants, they keep a track of the people who keep track of things, I am time. Time se koi bach nahi sakta. And among daityas, I am Prahlad. That's his vibhuti. So Prahlad ka kya hai ki suna hai na Hiranyakashipu ka beta tha. Hiranyakashipu, he was Aditi's son. So jitne bhi Aditi ke, the interesting thing is the father was the same of Devtas and Danavs. A lot of people may not know that. It's so strange. He had two wives, and the meaning of Aditi is, Diti means disintegrated person. Who is like disintegrated personality, not very cohesive personality, and thinking one thing, doing another thing. Like we know that we are trying to be integrated people. And Aditi means integrated person. So the children of Aditi is all the Devatas, or Adityas, the 12 Adityas that we have talked, uske bete the. और दीति जो थी उसके बच्चे सब दैत्य बोलते हैं, हम लोग बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में वो दैत्य है, and all negative qualities and all that were more prominent in them. उनमें से एक हिरण्यकश्यपु था, and the names are also very interesting. Hiranya means gold, Kashyapu means like a shawl, shawl, golden shawl ओढ़ के बैठा हुआ है. It's like all materialism completely, like people who don't believe in God. They just say, hey, दुनिया is, खाओ पियो मजा करो, who God? No, there's no such thing as God. उसका बेटा था प्रहलाद. तो उसमें संस्कार कहाँ से आ गई, वो पूरी कहानी, I won't go too much in detail, but the gist of the kahani is certain circumstances took the mother when she was pregnant to Naradji's ashram. There was a whole story that I won't get into. She was escaping from something and Naradji gave her shelter. Bichari pregnant woman hai, isko mere ashram mein aa jao, I'll protect you, kind of thing. So while the child was in the womb, और नारद जी के घर में क्या होगा, नारायण नारायण होगा. पूरा सत्संग चालू 24/7, So वो, this is called the first prenatal education. Like there असर होता है that somebody, if the child is in the womb, if the mother, whatever they do, they say, right, India में हम लोग सबने सुना है कि the child will get the sanskaras. So वो दैत्य का बेटा होते हुए भी, because he was in Naradji's ashram while she was pregnant, he heard सारे संस्कार उसमें वो आ गए, So इतने डीप थे वो संस्कार, दैट जब उसको जब ही वो जो भी प्री किंडर गार्डन में गया, वो 5 साल का था शायद, किंडर गार्डन में गया जब उसके बाप ने उसको भेजा, तो what they were learning in the school, complete materialism. That how to be a good daitya, how to khao piyo maja karo, rule over everybody. There's no such thing as God. There is only one God in the world, and that's Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, whatever, what is it? Hiranaya Namaha, that's what they were teaching. So when the children come home, sometimes the father asks, what did you study in school today? Tell me about it. Don't we do that to our children? What did you study in school today? So he said, I studied that. No, he didn't say I studied. He said, what I know is that the only most important thing in the world is to worship God. So he got so shocked. Ye kya bol raha hai, So he's saying that, what are you saying? And then in that verses, they have, Navada Bhakti. If whoever has heard of Navada Bhakti, 9 ways to connect to God. And, it's Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. ये 5 साल का बच्चा बोल रहा है उनको, बिकॉज उसने सुना था नारद जी से ये सारी बातें, और he believed in it so much. And what in English I will say, worship God, listen to his stories, and we should sing his glories, we should remember him, surrender to him, we should become his friend. And this is what I know. This is what, so this is, father तो got so annoyed से, मेरा सारा पैसा बर्बाद कर दिया तूने, सारे टीचर्स को बुला के बहुत डांटा, कि क्या इसको सिखा रहे हो, इसको सिखाओ सही, like उसे क्या सीख के आया है वहाँ पे, सब उल्टा सीधा सीख के आया है, so he yelled at the teachers. The teacher भी डर गए, टीचर वापस लेके गए उसको. तो ये क्या करता था ना, जैसे ही टीचर इधर उधर गया ना पानी पीने के लिए, बाथरूम वगैरह, तो सारे बच्चों को इकट्ठा करके and he would start giving them instruction about Narayan. Very cute story it is, So that's what was happening. So जब फादर ने सब कुछ ट्राई कर लिया, दिस गाय वुड नॉट गिव अप हिज भक्ति टू नारायण. तो तब तो उसने बोला कि मैं आई वांट टू गेट रिड ऑफ दिस चाइल्ड, ये मेरा बेटा हो ही नहीं सकता. लाइक इतना गुस्सा आया उसको, एंड ही वाज अ दैत्य. सो एक बार गुस्सा आ गया, दे आर नॉट इवन, they want to eliminate their own child if it's going to come in my way. That's how tamasic their thinking is. So the story, उसको पहाड़ से गिराया, ये किया वो किया, ये तो नारायण नारायण बोलता जाता था. Finally then they try to kill him, and that also, उसीलिए हम लोग होली मनाते हैं, right? अपनी बहन को बोला कि बैठ जा आग में, ये है वो. I won't go, everybody knows this story. I'll go more into what is significant for us. So finally Bhagwan had to take avatar as Narsimha, right? And he destroyed the Hiranyakashipu. And the other whole part of the story is very interesting. I won't go too much into it. कि यहाँ ऊपर नहीं मारना, पीछे नीचे नहीं मारना, दिन में नहीं मारना, रात में नहीं मारना, राइट? तो शाम को मारा उसको, ऊपर नीचे नहीं तो अपनी गोद में रख लिया. कोई शस्त्र से नहीं मरेगा तो अपने नाखून से उसका पेट चीर दिया वगैरह वगैरह. ग्रोस, आई डोंट वांट टू गो इनटू इट. सो और बोला कि एनिमल्स से नहीं मरना चाहिए, ह्यूमन से नहीं मरना चाहिए, देवताओं से नहीं, तो नरसिंह बना दिया अपने आप को. न वो आदमी है न जानवर है, बीच का ही है. Something like that, That's all that. So that's what they're trying to show. Prahlad was such a great devotee, and then भगवान ने उसको king भी बनाया बाद में. He became the king. He was very just, dharmic king. That is Bhagwan's vibhuti. So even when somebody is born in a negative environment, he can also become great. That's what this one thing is telling us. And even negativity in your life you can utilize towards some supreme, state of, you cannot give up your spirituality even if you are in negative environment, if you keep your faith and all. And we will see more deeper symbolism next time, because time is up for this. So I'm going to stop Bhagavad Gita here. But there is one more example in our Itihas and Puranas about being in the negative environment and still having a bhakti towards God, and everybody knows it. It was Vibhishan. Vibhishan was in Lanka and he was surrounded by all the Rakshasas, but he did not give up his bhakti towards God. So there are 2-3 very, very strong examples. And, Prahlad is like the ultimate example. That's why Bhagwan said he's my Vibhuti. And he was just a child and still he maintained his firmness. So, any question? Next time we'll go more into deeper symbolism because they are also very beautiful, the symbolism.
Question? I just have one comment that Aditi name you see here a lot, but is Diti common? I've heard one name, one person called Diti. I have heard.
Usually they won't. If they know the meaning, they will not keep it. वो Diti कोई short होगा. Sometimes when we don't know the meaning, कोई किसी का नाम अदिति है तो उसको short बनाने के लिए हम लोग Diti बोल देंगे or something. But it's the same thing. Like nobody will keep their child's name Ravan, right?
Right.
So as a Vibhishan भी नहीं रखते. Even though Vibhishan was a very great guy, but I have not heard. तो लोग चाहते हैं कि मेरे बच्चे का एकदम सात्विक नाम हो. So Aditi, my niece is Aditi too. Aditi is very common in India.
No, Aditi is very common, but I have heard one person, her name is Diti.
And my guess is that person made it short. उसका real नाम नहीं हो सकता Diti.
Okay, or maybe her parents
didn't know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's good to know so that later on कोई नहीं बोले, oh, why did you keep my name Diti? I found out the meaning is not so good. Right. So whenever you keep your name of your child, do some research before you keep it. Yeah. These days people keep such names, I have to ask them, can you please tell me the meaning? Because and sometimes they do have a beautiful meaning, but we have not heard that name so easily, because it's a fashion कि जितना ज़्यादा unusual नाम है ना उतना उनको मजा आता है parents को. Yeah. Okay. Any other comment? Okay, so I'll close Bhagavad Gita here. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम.